me see. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, so it's recording now. No, I don't know why it was such a freaking hassle. But no, yeah, I guess we'll get this started. Yeah, Dad, I don't know if you were here. You didn't get a chance to hear this, but yeah, we came
Mhm.
up with an intro. Obviously everything always starts with the foundation, but before you can start with the foundation, you always need some acres. So I thought I thought that was kind of clever. I think the boys kind of like that too. So
Yeah, yeah. I like it.
um
I like it.
so no, yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're back here with another little recording. Um yeah, I think before we kind of start into our conversation, um I know, let me get back the question I was gonna ask. I believe, sorry. Yeah, here it go. Oh, no, it's the wrong chat. I think it was if if you could go back
Replay.
to a movie or a scene, yeah, replay anything, what would that scene be to describe you? Or like what, I guess what scene resonates with you if it you had to put it to a movie? I think it was something along the lines of that.
Well, me, because I was actually thinking about that question. Um, I mean, because recently I just graduated from college, so I mean, that was a big moment for me. Just walking that stage and getting my diploma. Putting in all that work. I went to college for 5 years, so um, and it wasn't easy. So that was a big moment for me. So it played me just walking across that stage. Dad was there, and things of that nature. So that was that was a big moment for me.
Hmm.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah. Maybe
Um,
you want to go?
Uh, I mean, yeah, I guess I can go. I think I would have to think about the question more. But I guess like a moment that I would probably have replaying. Uh, man, yeah, come back to me. I gotta think about it.
Question. That's why I had to
Mhm.
think about it.
Come back to
Uh,
me.
well, it's easy for me. I would, since y'all grown now,
hmm.
I would relive the moment that y'all was born.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very happy moment.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. About you, Qamar.
Um, one, I guess there's several, but I guess one, if I could think of recent time, um, probably a couple years ago, 2021, making my first, or not first start, but starting in a game against Mississippi State, you know, just all the moments that led up to that moment. Um, or even I can even go back even earlier in that season. Actually, I'll go back earlier in that season, going to start up against UNT. You know, I mean, there's a lot of adversity that I faced. Obviously, um, being at a college at a Division III, that closing down, kind of that whole summer leading into that kind of the unknown, and then finally showcasing my ability. I obviously had a red shirt, but like it was still, I was almost on the bubble of being cut just because of some grades. Obviously, I got that turned around, but it was definitely a lot of things I had to overcome in order to get to that moment. And that's, I think, very um, that's something I would relive over, and it's great. I think nice little story.
Mm. Yeah, I think I just thought about it, and plus this gives us right into the next thing I think we wanted to talk about. I think probably just anything, just to like go back. If I were to go back, relive something, probably before we had COVID, to see how things were, because there's kind of a COVID was such a big change where it's like you could talk about a world before and after COVID. So anything prior to like COVID, probably like the swim years or when I was in swimming or in choir, probably to relive any of those moments before COVID-19. So that's what I would say.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, just like Jaybre said, that's one thing that we did kind of want to talk about. Obviously, as we're all here on Zoom, obviously online meetings were a thing before COVID, but now obviously COVID's obviously enhanced that even more, and Zoom has become a big obviously need for the classroom, obviously to meet and do all that stuff. So yeah, it's the one thing that we're going to kind of mention now is kind of I guess our experiences, what we take away from COVID. Obviously the COVID still exists, but obviously the pandemic has sort of dwindled off since obviously we look at now being in 2023. So um who wants to I guess start kind of talking about their their experiences? I mean, I could start if you guys want, but
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, me personally, I mean, when COVID first started, it kind of came out of nowhere for me. So like, we had to instantly just like pack our stuff and go home. And it was during the school year. When I got home and stuff, gyms wasn't open, things of that nature. So like, people started creating challenges like a push-up challenge. I don't know if y'all remember that.
yeah,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
yeah. Started doing stuff like that. So I was doing that. I would be going outside where nobody was at, like at a church, and just going and playing basketball just to like stay in shape and things of that nature. So yeah, I mean that's how it affected me. I mean, doing push-up challenges, even sit-up challenges, doing things of that nature. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um, or yeah, you go ahead, Dan.
yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy for me because I was overseas at the time, and all the planes had all the flights was canceled, all the planes was grounded, so there was no way to get back home, and I was kind of stuck overseas for 18 months, before I was able to come home. And, overseas is different, I was seeing how it was being handled in the United States, and people, you know, complaining about, being locked down and this and that. Overseas, when they tell you to stay inside, you stay inside.
Mhm.
Saying you either get beat or you get shot. So it was
Mhm.
something real. You see the punk ass Americans, complaining about everything, and they
Yeah.
just don't know how real it was. But yeah, it was a real situation.
Mhm. I guess I'll go next. No, yeah, I mean, one thing I was going to kind of mention about my experience, I think, obviously it was going into my first year coaching, and I guess kind of speaking kind of the aftermath of it. I mean, like I said, I know we're kind of still, it still does exist, the virus, but obviously when lockdown did happen, one thing I'd say COVID kind of did is enhance, I think, people's traits. If people like Ali kind of mentioned, staying in shape, because obviously you were still an athlete, if you were, however, you look at the inverse, if you were somebody that's lazy, you found yourself becoming even more lazy, or you would find yourself
No,
complaining, like saying, oh my goodness, like I can't even do, you know, what X, Y, and Z. Like there'd be always something to complain about, and one thing, just that I took away from it is, like I said, I think it enhanced even more, like, you know, good thing that I had a good staff that wanted to meet weekly. We still got things done. And even obviously throughout that, we had the George Floyd incident that did happen. I think as the staff, we try to collectively kind of educate our players on that. Obviously I think Ollie and Jaybre, I think you guys went to um a protest through, throughout
mm,
throughout that transaction. But I think it definitely a lot of things happen in COVID, but I think it and if I take away from it, I think it just enhanced the people we are. Like I know a lot of people are like, they always say like, well, that's what happened to me in COVID, but like for example, this or a program that I currently work for, they just like one of the things that we ran into is always saying like, COVID just messed us up as a program, but it's like the thing is that's how it just enhanced what was the problem. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that COVID took away. The biggest
Mhm.
takeaway from COVID, it enhanced what you already were.
Speaking of being lazy, one of my teammates, point guard, he came in 6'2", like 250, and then
Sheesh.
yeah, and then Coach Crutch at the time was like, "Hey yo, like, have you been working out at all?" I'm like,
No, yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
I mean, COVID. COVID's there could be a lot said about it. I think from like my personal experience, what I remember, was a junior in high school at the time. Yeah, I was a junior in high school. It was the second semester. I barely remember it because that's how the schooling was. I just remember pretty much the teachers were just like, okay, we got to end this year. They even ended like a month before it was supposed to end because it was just they couldn't really control the situation. So they're just like, all right, everybody's passing this year. We don't really care. But so I remember that for schooling. But I remember like I was also one of the people that was like keeping track with COVID like in January because really people say like it started in March, but really that reason why it's called COVID-19 is because it started in 2019, like December 31st, 2019. That's when they discovered it in China. But there's of course evidence to suggest that it probably was in China well before it as well. But anyway, I was one of the people that like was tracking it in January. There was like this YouTube channel I'd watch that would do like daily updates on COVID-19. And then I kind of stopped after January, but then February, I remember because it was like kind of like only in China for a bit. United States only had like about one case or something as well. So it was like kind of like out of the our view, so to speak. And then in February, you had Italy starting to have a virus spread, and then Europe was getting hit pretty hard. And then it was like, oh man. So it was just a matter of time before the States was about to get hit as well. And I remember as well that we were at one case, we went to 60 in February, and then Trump was trying to say, well, Trump, I think he obviously was trying to say like, we're going to keep it at that. But then also he kind of knew that it was going to spread, at that point. Then March came, and then that's when, everything started pretty much hitting the fan
Mm-hmm.
because you remember that NBA got canceled, and like the spring break
Yeah.
week, which was like the March, like that like second week of
Second,
March.
third week of March,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you had NBA got canceled. You had some prominent actors get COVID. And I remember where I was exactly when I started hearing this news. I remember as well, Walmarts were getting flooded. People were buying toilet paper, crazy, hand sanitizer. In fact, a fun fact on that, the hand sanitizer was getting like so purchased so much that in fact they had to make like I think alcohol places that were selling alcohol or like maybe even places that were like making beers and stuff. They had to start producing hand sanitizer because it got that bad. The supply they needed so much. But anyways, you had that stuff happening, and I remember where I was. Getting. I was in the a driver's ed course. I was in like a practice driving. I just remember hearing the news about it. They were like, COVID-19, we have like 2,000 cases at this point. Man, it's really starting to take off. This actor just got it. The NBA just got closed down, and then I remember as well, at the end of that month, we went from like basically 60 to 100,000 cases in just the span of March. So, you could definitely tell the virus was definitely taking storm. But yeah, I remember that. And then to go to like my school year as well, I remember, I remember just staying mostly at home. And then I think I worked out a little bit, but it felt a little hard to work out in my. But then once I got back to swim, I started to adjust again. But that was kind of like that's kind of my experience. Is that yeah, it definitely was something. I mean, and I think as Qamar said, it definitely enhanced a lot of what people were before the pandemic, anyways. Or like what you said with your program, it's like cracks and stuff that were already there. COVID just kind of. It's not like COVID is the one that created the cracks. It just basically made the cracks more apparent.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
and enhanced it. Yeah, it shocked the world because for the first time everybody was affected, and I was in the Middle East and seeing what was going on in the U.S., affect the Middle East and beyond. Um, it was something serious. It was a lot of conspiracy theorists, saying different things, but it was something that was real everywhere. And I could attest to being abroad and seeing that it affected, places abroad, same way it affected the United States.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think me and you, Wally, might have been together. I think we were at I want to say North Richland Hills Rec. I think
No,
just
no. I
or
was
were you were where?
I was in Ada when it first
You were in Ada?
yeah.
Dang, I swear I might have saw some, or I was in a wreck. That I might have been in a wreck where uh because usually we would go hoop every Wednesday, and then one of the days I went to North Richland Hills instead. I might have been with Clifton. That's who I might have been with.
No, because I was playing basketball with one of my teammates, Sando, and then that's when our coach was like, "Yo, y'all gotta leave. Like, y'all gotta get up out of here." And it was like around the time of spring break. So then I was
Hmm.
like, "Yo, this is the longest spring break in the world."
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
it turned from, and I remember this too. Like I said, I mean, I was so it's like because I knew about COVID-19 before. Like I said, a lot of other people were starting to go like, "Oh man, this is serious." But basically, that spring break week, then what happened? Because obviously, it started spreading hard, and then they were like, the schools made a decision, and obviously nationwide, they said, "Hey, schools got to shut down for 2 weeks to try to stop the spread." And then they were like, "We'll have to assess the situation from then and see if it's better." It was way worse. So then they're like, "Okay, we're going to give it another 2 weeks." And then in April, it was even worse than March. So they're like, "All right, the school year's canceled because there's no way it's going to basically get under control in a in a 2 week time period." But so there was that, and then I mean senior year too. I mean my senior year was completely dominated by COVID as well, still because all the variants that started popping up as well. Um, I'm trying to remember which. I think it might have been the Delta one that was pretty hard on the school year. I think there was a point where they basically had to. I think they might have almost shut down the school in that period of time. But I remember too, just like the process of it too, and like if you got in contact with someone with COVID, you're pretty much just out for a week. You know, out for a week or two because of how COVID is. So yeah, school year was completely dominated by that. But obviously now, like Qamar said, COVID's still here, but at least the worst effects of it, I think, have been are past us now.
Yeah.
When I had my COVID season before we could play any type of game, the little nose swab things, we had to do that
Mm-hmm. That was
game.
point.
Yeah, we had to do that. And I'm pretty
That brought
happy
back memory for me.
about that, right?
Say one more time.
We all caught COVID, like we all caught COVID at one time, like
Oh
me,
yeah,
you.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah,
all caught.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
How was that? Like, when did y'all first like know that y'all had it?
I'll start first, I guess. I know for me it was funny because like I said, I was with the last program I was with, we're the school that we were with that I was with was a religious school, so it's like it's already kind of tight lockdown as it was, and it got even tighter. But like we would do testing every like twice a week, and I never caught the virus. And then the last week of our season, going into Thanksgiving, I freaking get the virus, and like I could barely taste any of mom's cooking and any of the Thanksgiving food. So I remember I was kind of upset about that.
Nah, with me, I just got done hanging out with my friends and stuff, and then I just didn't feel right. Like like I felt sick, and then next I couldn't smell anything. I was like, bro, what's wrong with me? So I got like some cologne, and I like sprayed it like in my face and like on my arm. And I was like, there was nothing. I'm like, yo, I got this crap.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I was basically I couldn't come home for 18 months, And so when they lifted the ban and you can actually fly, I was getting ready to come home. And I caught COVID.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I had a week before my flight, and 2 weeks before my flight, and I caught COVID. You know, but I tested and got it, and then a week and a half later, I tested again, and I didn't have it. So I was able to get on the flight. But I had it because I some Clorox wipes. You know, I couldn't smell nothing, so I put Clorox wipes. You know, try to smell it. And you know how
Uh,
strong Clorox is.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
nah,
I couldn't smell it.
I ain't gonna lie. No, what really got me was when I took a shit and I was like, I don't smell nothing.
You know, you know some. Hey, you know something wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I know I caught COVID later than y'all because I know y'all three kind of caught it around the same time. I caught COVID actually a few months back, and
I was
what
about to
happened?
say it was in December, right?
Yeah, because what happened was, my gosh. So at work, the dude I was working next to had COVID, but my manager, no one wanted to tell me that the dude had COVID. And that was the reason why he wasn't at work for like a week or two because he had COVID. No one wanted to tell me that. So then I come home one day, you know, I wasn't feeling I felt a little bit, but I've had, the vaccines at that point came out because for I think y'all three it wasn't. But so, you know, I think if you guys probably felt a little bit more sick, but like for me, vaccine, definitely kept me protected. But pretty much what happened was I think I was at home and then I remember the blankets just got washed. I was about to go to sleep and I'm like, yo, I can't smell these blankets. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's a coincidence. So then I go in the bathroom, and I get the soap. Put it this close, and I'm like, oh, I can't smell it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got COVID because I'm like, I should be able to smell this, and I can't smell it. And yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It completely, takes out your sense of smell and like
Mm.
my taste was still there, thankfully, but the smell was gone for about a good week or so. But yeah, that's how I knew I had COVID.
Qamar and Dad, y'all's taste went, right? Dad, your taste went too, right?
Yeah, my taste went also. Yeah,
So
it took a couple of months
how
for me
did
to get
things
my taste back.
how did eating like you just be like you didn't feel it or anything? Like how did I even you
Oh,
just
you
really
talking
couldn't
about
taste didn't really taste none like and
now?
that's it.
You just eating. You know. Yeah, you ain't
Just
really
eating.
tasting it. Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah, a couple of months, probably about 3 months for
Mm.
the taste. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think mine was that long. I think honestly mine was maybe about a week or two.
I would have
Man.
been pissed off.
Come on,
But
you caught it twice, right?
yeah, I think it was twice because it was after my first year at ACU, and then I want to say maybe actually um maybe sometime maybe within the last year, but it was like I think maybe after the season again. That's the thing too. That's like funny about my immune system is like my body will not allow me to get sick during the time of work, but like when it's time to sort of kind of ease off the pedal, it's like all right, it's time for you to be sick.
You know, after Kobe Bryant died, every everything went downhill.
Hmm.
You know, for 2020,
Yeah.
it went
Yeah.
downhill after Kobe. That was the first like tragedy of the year. You know, I think it was like January, late January, and then after that, it was crazy. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
no. Then obviously COVID picked up, and then uh, did Chadwick Boseman also die that year too in August?
yeah, it might
Yeah,
have been later that year too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah. No, 2020 was a pretty, for lack of a better term, a shitty year. But yeah,
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
it's like I said, obviously Kobe. I think I mentioned earlier the whole George Floyd incident. It was a challenging time, I think, for a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think, um, you know, whatever you guys believe in. I know obviously we all kind of have a similar sort of mindset. But we have different experiences with what we believe in. However, I think kind of your morals and your values, whatever you tend to believe in, really showed that whole year. Like which that didn't happen until the whole other year. You had people climbing on the freaking White House just because Trump didn't get elected or he's getting it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
a bunch of bozos.
Yeah, exactly. But man, no, like I said, I think it definitely but I think it was a time where you could, if you took it as a learning lesson, to really, make yourself grow, it was a good time to obviously take that time to do so. I know like the old head coach I used to work for, like he was into like uh reading, or I think he liked putting apart guns. He like got better at doing that. Little like gadget stuff. I think little hobbies, um, keep yourself busy type deal. I think that's always good to do in a time of like crisis, or in a time where things may be a little hard or get difficult. Is to kind
Mm.
of remind yourself, you're allowed to be human and do things like, I think a lot of times nowadays people, uh, especially now with social media, and, I know social media it's been a thing for the past little over now going on like 20 years or even a little bit longer. But regardless, I know people say it makes things worse, but again, I think whatever the point is, you can't let yourself get lost in that junk, you know.
That- That's like playing. That's like playing in traffic. You're bound to get hit. You know,
Hmm.
ain't nothing wrong with going left when everybody going right. You don't. Nothing wrong with coloring outside the lines. Because the ones that color outside the lines, those are the trendsetters. Those are the ones that people follow. You everybody ain't gonna. Everybody want to be liked, but it ain't. Just to be liked. You know, just because. That's not the way to go. Because at the end of the day, those people ain't gonna have your back. In time of crisis.
Hmm.
Ain't nothing wrong with going left. Everybody else go right. Follow yourself. You can be your best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bet on your
bet on yourself. Yeah. Which I think it says this meeting is going to end in 10 minutes. I can, if you guys are still free, I can open up another one once this thing ends. But one thing I kind of wanted to talk about just kind of came into my mind. Um, I know you guys obviously, I know Dad and obviously Jaybre and even you two, all you've watched wrestling. But one thing that has really been like, I think somebody that definitely took the time, like it's just an example that came in my head speaking on COVID, because whenever COVID did happen, um, like Roman Reigns, he actually was one of the first people to step away from wrestling. And at the time, just kind of talking about, at least about him, but I think like a good lesson to kind of uh learn is he was like his character, the way he was in wrestling, people weren't really getting over with. They really didn't like his character. They thought it was
Mm-hmm.
stale. But then he took like I think 3 months away from wrestling or whatever. He took some time off, but then he came back, and now like Roman Reigns is like he's the
Yeah,
company.
kind of like reinvented himself with the he's like the
The
head of
tribal
the table,
chief, yeah, head of
tribal
the
chief.
table.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think he um obviously I know he has support from the company and whatnot, but I think it definitely, being as it was, he was this already big megastar, but he also took it upon himself to say, how can I make myself take that next step?
yeah.
And
Sometimes you need to reset, like regroup, and just work on your weaknesses. You know,
mhm,
that's pretty much like that's probably what he did, right? I mean, pretty much what
mhm,
he.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, he's one of the like you said, he's like the face of the company now. I mean, I think also I don't know when, because I know he also had a situation with cancer as well, right? Was it around that same time, or because I'm
Yeah,
not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, he was battling something.
so yeah, because I remember I think it was cancer. So yeah, and his character was pretty mediocre at best at most times. I think that they definitely pushed him for a while, and of course he's gonna get a real bad rap because like most people will be like it took 10 years or something to make this character good, but it's like sometimes there was finally a breakthrough. They kind of did a 180 with this character because I don't know, it was just boring. Uh, yeah, it was just boring. And now, I mean, he's interesting. I mean, I think he just cut one of the best. Uh, like my one of my cousins, or our cousins, really loves wrestling, and he was saying that was like one of the best events he's seen in recent wrestling. With the Bloodline and with Money in the Bank that just passed a few days ago. So yeah, I mean, it definitely is possible. You can make that 180. Of course, that's a wrestling character, but it's the same thing with, of course, like actual people too. I mean, not to stay like in that same state, because I mean, yeah, he could say that he was bad, quote unquote, bad for like 10 years, but then eventually there was that break, and then now he's better. But that type of shift doesn't happen overnight. It isn't just like all right, I'm gonna do a 180. It's a process. It's takes time.
Yeah.
Great, no, greatness takes time. Like I remember I saw Usain Bolt thing. He was like, it took me around like 3 to 5 years to run the fastest time, to run the fastest 100 meter, like 9.5 or whatever. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
some people, a lot of people would have quit within 2 months. People want to see results in two, but it takes time.
It's
Hmm.
time, yeah. And the thing is, you running your own pace. In life, you run your own pace. You can't look to the left or right of you. You gotta have basically tunnel vision. So
Yeah.
whatever. So what? It took him 10 years. That was his pace. Most of the ones that talking about how long it took, those are the same ones sitting on the couch, and they only in 10 years, went from donuts to sloppy joes. You
Yeah.
know, that's all. That's the only process they made. You know what I'm saying? They
No,
got
yeah.
none. They got nothing to show. But more rolls.
No, no doubt. No.
ain't and I ain't talking about dinner rolls. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. Like especially obviously I'm in the profession of coaching and around this time, especially I work at a Division 3 school where like we don't get the time to really always be with them as like a upper Division 2 or Division 1, obviously. But around this time, obviously from like May to early August, July, like this the time where like guys got to go into the hyperbolic chamber and like like get themselves better. There's only so much that I as a coach can do, or or even like how you did with us, Dad. Like obviously you taught us how to work hard and the traits that came with it. But at some point, we got to be able to take the leash and embrace it. And obviously, we talked about how Roman Reigns did it. But like at some point, it's got to become between a battle of you and you, and how far you're going to push yourself to get over that step, or obviously it could take its own time, but you got to be able to progressively work towards that goal. But, yeah, I think it says it's gonna end in like 3 minutes. Do you guys what else do you guys, or do you guys have any other thoughts that you guys want to talk about? Like I said, I know we mentioned the Zion, that whole situation. You guys want to talk about that?
It's up to you. I got time. If I wanna, you know,
I mean, I could stay on for a little longer as well.
All right,
I got the restroom real quick, but yeah, I could stay too.